Well, hello, welcome again to a reading of Odyssey Book 4, which is a fairly long book, and I got up to line 673. So up to this point then, Noamon has let it slip that Telemachus has gone away, and then of course one of the suitors, Antinous, has asked for a ship. He plans to set a trap, an ambush for Telemachus as he's on his way back from visiting Pylos and Sparta. And so it begins, Hos Ephat, thus he spoke, and the he, of course, here is Antinous, and all of them accordingly. It's nice to try and get these little particles in somehow. So all of them, as you might expect, accordingly, were praising him and were, well, perhaps encouraging him. They were bidding him to do what he'd said, that is, to get a ship and set an ambush. And immediately, Epata afterwards, unstantes anfa ana, so standing up, they went from Bino into the house of Odysseus. Ud ara Penelope, nor, and again, accordingly, nor as you might expect, was, so the an here uncontracted, was Penelope, apustos muthon, literally unperceiving of the stories for a long time. So she wasn't unaware of their words for a long time. Apustos, alpha privative, and the pust root connected with punthanomai, to perceive. So she wasn't lacking in perception of the words pollen chronon for a long time. The words hus, which the suitors. Now this is a funny verb here, it's an imperfect without augment. The verb is busadomio, it's literally to build in the deep. And it has metaphorical sense here of to ponder seriously, to ponder deeply, to ponder seriously. So the words which the suitors were seriously considering in their, well, could capture this in the depths of their minds, if you wanted to get the busos in here. Kerux gar hoi epi Medon. So for Medon, the herald, told her, spoke to her. Medon who, eon ektos aules, being outside of the court, perhaps the courtyard, Eputhata was perceiving Bulas, their counsels, their plans. But they literally were weaving their plot, their matis, endothi within, that is, within the aule. They dimen, and he went to go. This is an infinitive, of course, from Amy Ibo, standard phrase here. So we would say he set out. It's literally he went to go. So he set out. This is a future participle. The sigma's dropped out here. So he set out with the intention of giving a report. So being about to give a report. So he set out dia domata through the house with the intention of giving a report to Penelope. And Penelope addressed him, Banta, as he was stepping through the threshold, or along the threshold. So Banta here going with ton from Bino. Now, two things to say here. Firstly, he gets a pretty rough greeting from Penelope. She has a long rant about how bad the suitors are, and includes him in the list, when he's actually coming there to do the right thing by telling her what they're planning. The second thing is the syntax in the following speech that we're going to get. Well, it is at times slightly abrupt, and well, scholars have given the name female syntax to this sort of trope in Homer, and does occur elsewhere as well, where when a woman is in a state of high emotion, then she will. The grammar is often difficult to follow. Here is not actually too bad, but it is fairly abrupt. You'll get this also in places in tragedy as well. You get it in, for example, at the end of Iliad, book 22, when poor Andromache has realised her husband's been killed. The speech there is similarly slightly disjointed. So I'll do this carefully here. So Kerux, herald, tipti. This is for tit and potty. So why ever have the haughty, the arrogant suitors, the haughty suitors, pro esan is from pro hiemi. Why have they sent you forth? Surely it is to apemina infinitive, from the apon root. Instead of having a pain, you get apemini. So surely it was to speak to the female servants of divine Odysseus, pausas there, to cease from, this is the middle from pauo. Pauo is to check somebody, to stop someone else, and in the middle is to stop yourself, and hence to cease from, and often takes a genitive. So to cease from their works. And then and, rather than but here, I think, and to penesthai, to prepare a feast for them themselves. So we would just say for themselves. The sphici goes with the autois here. So he sent. Surely they've sent you forth to tell the women to stop their works and to make dinner for them, to prepare a feast for them. Me menes jusantes. So again, the grammar's slightly odd here. So the may goes with the participle here. So not having wooed, so not doing their wooing, nor homile santes, having gathered together. Homile is a company. So having gathered together alothi in another place, now may, this is an optative of wish here from dapnao, or dapneo, I think, dapnao. So dapneo, I think. May they dine here now, hustata kai pumata. Slightly odd expression here, something like for their latest and their last time. So she's saying, you know, if they're going to have a feast here, let them do it, but let it be the very last one. So it's an optative of wish here. They who, well, in fact it's you who, because it's third person plural, so she's including the poor old herald in this. Medon. So you who, gathering together tama frequently, katakarate, literally you shear away, so you devour, almost wasting, you devour much livelihood. And then in opposition to that we get katasin, the possession, or perhaps the wealth almost, the possession of thoughtful Telemachus. So, or wise Telemachus. So the possession of wise Telemachus. Uti patron continues on with this rant. So, Pides iontes, so being children, so when you were children, nor did you hear akuete, topros then, well, in days before, anything from your fathers. So in other words, you did not listen when you were children to the words of your father, understand the words, I think, of your father, ta prosthein, back then, so in the olden days. Hoios Odysseus esce. Esce is the iterative from Amy. So how Odysseus used to be, so how he treated, so how he used to be with your parents. So almost how he treated your parents, but how he used to be with your parents. We get uti uti, neither having done tina anything ex ision. Well, this is something like inappropriate, that which is outside of isis, of that which is appropriate or fair or reasonable. So not having done anything inappropriate or unreasonable, nor having said anything en demo, in the land. Generally, demos is land rather than people in Homer. Which is DK. Now, it's a funny word here to use. DK means justice. So it's almost, which is a just right of divine kings. And the te is, well, you could say which also is, or the te could just be generalizing te here. So in other words, kings can do whatever they damn well please, is what she's saying. So which is the just right of divine kings, so kings appointed by the gods. Alon ke ekhaire si braton, alon ke philoie. Now we get odd change of moods here. We've got subjunctive and then we've got an optative, which again is rather odd. And the two alons balance here. So he would hate one among mortals, so someone among mortals he would hate, and another, philoien, he would show kindness to, or he would love. Kainos du poti pan testhelon andra iorge. So Kainos, that man, that is Odysseus, never. Now, iorge is a pluperfect, either from ergo or probably ergo rather than erdo, I think, so ergo, and it's followed by a double accusative. So for that man would never pampan at all have wrought an atalasthon, an unseemly deed on a man. So he never wrought iniquity at all to any man. Al homen humeteros thumas. Now again, she's getting stuck into the poor Medon and lumbering him along with all the rest of the suitors. But your heart and your shameless deeds, phinatai, well, sort of are plain to see, are visible. We've got neuter plural subject. We've got two subjects. One is neuter plural, and we've got a singular verb here, which sort of fits okay because the nearest one is a neuter plural. So your heart and your shameless deeds are plain to see, nor would anyone, nor is there any charis, nor is there any gratitude, met opisthen, afterwards, for good works or good deeds. So in other words, someone does good deeds and then they don't get repaid for their good deeds. Nobody remembers. So there is no gratitude afterwards for good deeds. Now that's the end of her speech. So I've always felt a bit sorry for Medon here because he's come there with good intent and he has to cop this long diatribe. Anyway, he doesn't retort badly. He says, "Tain de aute prosie pen Medon pep pneumene eidos." So Medon replied then to her, he, knowing thoughtful things. Being thoughtful, knowing thoughtful things. Agar de Basileia, and his reply is interesting here. So Basileia, O Queen. Now Agar plus the optative, standard idiom, it's in Attic, it'd be epsilon iota. Would that indeed this might be the worst evil. So would that us, the suitors, eating you out of house and home, would that be the worst thing that they're doing? But the suitors, Fradzontai, are planning pollen madzon much more, and another thing which is argalioteron, which is even more painful for argalios, painful or troublesome. So for the suitors are planning something even more, and another thing which is even more troublesome or painful, home telesea chronion, and may the son of Kronos not bring it to fulfillment. So an optative of wish. May he not bring it to fulfillment. Telemachon memaasi kataktamin oxe calco oi cardinus sominon. So they desire, this is that from mema'a, verb, has a range of meanings, but often they are keen to, they are keen to kill Telemachus, they desire to kill Telemachus. This is an infinitive here. It's that apocryphated form from katano. You often get katakta. So it is an infinitive here, it's not first person plural. So they desire to kill Telemachus with the sharp bronze, i.e. the sharp spear or sword, as he is nisomenon, agreeing with Telemachon, as he is returning home. Hode ebe metapatros kuain es pulu agathe eain. But he has gone to sandy Pylos and into glorious Lacedaemon, into glorious Sparta, after a akuain, a report about his father. Ho Sparta, and thus he spoke. And now the autu here, I think, must mean here, at that spot. So the luto is a, well, I think it must be a pluperfect passive, and it's singular after gunata. So the knees of her had been loosed, or were loosed, out to at this very place, and her dear heart. And Dane, for a long time, amphasie. Now this is an alpha privative. You got the fas root from fami. The mu, it seems, is a nasal infix, and probably just, it's not very common. There are two examples apparently in Homer of this kind of construction. So it's alpha privative in this with a nasal infix. So it means lack of speech, and it's an abstract noun. So for a long time, the lack of speech of words. So an inability to speak, we would say, an inability to form words. Labe, it took min her, min for Artane. To de hoi ossi, this is dual, and the two eyes, hoi for her. Place then, now this is actually a plural, it's not a dual form, I think. It's from pimplay me, the root being play, and it's that typical passive, third person plural passive ending. It would be thesan normally, but you get this shortened form very commonly in Homer, we've seen it before. So her two eyes were filled, and then we get an old, well, instrumental here, perhaps with tears. So her two eyes were filled with tears. Thalere, phone, her thin, or so perhaps her delicate voice. Eschatot is, of course, from echo, and something like was restrained for her. So her soft or delicate, thaleron, tender, often rendered as tender. So her tender voice, well, came to a halt or was restrained for her, was held back. Opsi, but at last, indeed, in replying, she spoke to him, epesi, with words. And we'll continue on with this in the next recording.